So the last time we talked about controlling or potentially, manipulating the forces around and through the ball, either to kind of find our version of neutral, or potentially to better understand how to manipulate things so as to create imbalances so that we can work the ball. And for the most part, I like that video. I like that conversation. I think it's an important one to have, but there was a deeper message that I don't think I really nailed exactly. I didn't bring enough focus to it. And I kind of knew that. Plus, there is this thing that kind of keeps crossing my path on my social media feeds that's annoying, and it's not, this is the only version of this. There's many versions of this, and so that's why it's kind of annoying to me, is it's just continuing that trend. But it seems to be gaining a little bit of traction, and I don't think this is the way we should think about the game, because for several reasons. And what that is this idea of being stuck. You look at that and it's like, can you define what that is? Can you define it in a way that I would know there's a range to something back here, that once I cross this mark, I just know I'm not going to be good at golf anymore? And if not, then what is your definition of it? Does it just vary? And then when we try to look at players, can't really seem to nail that down either, because we have one guy that's getting praised for his swing where his elbow seems to have is kind of moving in a way that seems to align with your definition of stuck. We in that same elbow position have a player that's playing bad, and all of a sudden that elbow position just is unworkable. You're never going to be able to play good golf with that there. You have criticisms of players that if you go back and you look at a different part of their career, they have almost the exact same swing, and they were just absolutely dominating, absolutely crushing. And that criticism didn't exist. But now that they are struggling, oh, well, this elbow position is just never going to work. This idea of being stuck, just never going to work. And it's like, well, how does that work? How could it perform so well and create such good golf, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work? And then take someone like Scotty Scheffler, who's all the way up here, and he's got this elbow back there and kind of really like firing that wrist at it. And obviously we're not going to criticize him. He's the best golfer in the world right now. Like, there just is a bit of kind of oddness around this version of golf instruction. And again, it's not just about being stuck. It's about this idea of like not understanding that things can match up. Seemingly not understanding that there's players like Henrik Stenson and Jim Furyk, etc., that have this arm kind of more like this, or have slightly faster hips, and still are able to make things work. Does that mean it works for every player and we should teach every player that? No, not at all. But like, you can't just generalize. And there's been things before, whether it's this wrist being bowed or et cetera, et cetera. There's just a sort of lack of awareness that we can blend things to make them work. And that's up to the player, it's up to the coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And to get into that, we can look at a wrist condition like this, or a face condition like this, where whether the wrist is kind of bowed and we're getting the face shut, really strong grip, and that gets the face shut, or the face is just kind of shut at address. If I go in here with my typical movement pattern, what you might initially expect will probably be true, that this face alignment is to hit draws or bigger draws. So if I go in here, kind of slow my body down and let it release, not even kind of instinctively swing more to the right with the face looking like that, but even with swinging to the right, I get a ball that's starting too close to target and drawing too much. So does that face angle just not work? Well, no, because I can move differently than how I just moved. If I change how this club comes in, and this isn't my preferred movement pattern, not that I don't like it, it's just not how I move. All of a sudden, when I change the movement pattern, I get a ball that is curving to the right rather than hooking a lot. And so that ball is actually over fading a little bit. If you give me enough time, I could probably work myself into hitting a good shot with this alignment. But the overall point stands that what you can see here is if I have that movement pattern, I potentially even need the face stronger. And For the other movement pattern, I definitely need the face to be weaker. And it's kind of chicken or egg, right? It could be, if we look at a player that kind of fits things together like this, it could be that the face was shut, like this sort of wrist condition or grip works for them. And so they designed a movement pattern that helped it not go to the left with that face. Or, going the other way, they potentially had the body moving a certain way. It helped them create good speed and hit the ball solid. And so they designed this face condition to help the ball not go to the right. But either way, you can't just say that movement pattern is wrong or that face condition is wrong or good, whichever side we want to land on it, without knowing how it's going to play together with the other stuff. So for me, potentially, I might not like this movement pattern because just like some range of motion stuff, I don't really have the ability potentially to get past this ball well enough to get it to kind of start left and work back to the right like that shot. So I didn't hit that super well, but I did a better job at managing the path in the face. Or I might just not like that ball flight. That ball flight may not work for me. It's not a body thing as much as I just don't like that ball flight. So then, for me, again, you saw what it looked like when the face was strong. Even as counterintuitive as it is, someone like me that likes to play that likes to play draws and moves a certain way, I might actually need the face to be more right pointed or open, however you want to think about that. So that when I get in here, if I can actually get it to sit straight, and I release on it, it starts far enough to the right to not overdraw. And that hits that trajectory as well, since I'm not like the fastest player in the world. That also gets that ball up to a peak height that I like to see. So now I have 170 RPMs to the left with a face that's considerably more open or right pointed than the other way around. And also this idea that like fades are better, and to play a good fade you have to kind of get your butt out of the way and get the handle really low left. Like that's just not how all people fade the ball. I could sit here and have the face a little bit more neutral, keep my body a little bit more in front of me, and start to release the club a little bit more around like this. So someone like Sebastian Munoz or Shane Lowry kind of come to mind, where they aren't butt way back and handle super low. They're kind of the opposite. The butt and everything's kind of up here, and then this club just has a release. I'm gonna try my best. I'm not good at this one either. It's just more on top of it. It goes more through this way and gets it to be a little bit more path left, face open. So again, I'm not great at this. I would have to kind of configure this a little bit. I'd have to figure out how to make it work. So face got open, but I need to kind of get it a little bit more on the outside of the ball. And again, I can do that from that elbow being in. In fact, it might be advantageous to keep my elbow more in to get that to release a little bit more around the outside of the ball. And get it to fade that way, right? So on that one, my feel is that I have the elbow deeper and I'm releasing, getting that back out to the ball that way, which maybe helps me get that path a little bit more consistently to the left, which is what I need to hit a fade, since I can't potentially, because of my body, rotate as much or create as much depth this way. I can still make it work. And so if I had to kind of sum this conversation up, it would be that, as has always been said, right? Many ways to skin the cat. And there are two versions of this conversation that I think just do not work. This one, like swing your own swing, which is kind of true in a way, starts to kind of not make sense. You still have to have things fit together. So yes, there may be something in your swing that's kind of unique, but with that uniqueness, you still need to fit it together with its counterpart. If you're blasting the ball off to right field consistently over and over and over again, it maybe is not that you're a mental case and you just need to think about it better. It may be that there's something on the way down that doesn't fit with what you're doing on the way up. And then the other side of it is kind of equally as goofy. You can't play good golf unless you nail down these exact movement patterns. It's not possible to be Henrik Stenson or Jim Furyk or Scotty Scheffler. It's not possible to be good because of this thing, even though obviously they were fantastic, right? You can't just look at individual things and say, I'm going to copy that. You can't listen to things about individual movement patterns and say, I'm going to copy that. It's more in depth than that. I think you can discuss the concepts of what they do, right? What does this, predict, depending on what we do, like what would we have to do with this? I think you can, from a general sense, kind of work your way through some of these concepts, but it may take getting with someone that can lay out the framework of how all these parts play together to get the ball going where we want to. So again, not to beat a dead horse, but these things that exist on the internet where it's very, very general and says this is horrible and this is great, like it may not make sense to you. It may not work for you. It could be the absolute thing that you need, and it could be the thing that destroys your swing and makes you have to work twice as hard to get back on the other side of it. Stop thinking about it in such a black and white way, and instead start to understand they all have their counterparts. Each little piece has its counterpart. If you look at the way Viktor Hovland's swing works, there's actually a video out there, I'll kind of end it on this. There's an interesting video out there of Viktor Hovland and Rory McIlroy hitting next to one another on the range, and it couldn't be, more opposite in some ways. Very closed on Viktor's side, gets open, drags his elbows forward to keep the face more straight or right pointed. Then, if you look at the handle going through the ball, the handle stays very, very low like this. Rory, on the other hand, the face isn't nearly as shut. He gets down here and he hits like almost a straight vertical movement. So now all of a sudden the handle's ripping up and he releases it like crazy. Is Rory never going to be good at golf because he doesn't swing like Viktor Hovland? Is Viktor Hovland never going to be good because he doesn't swing like Rory? Like, that's the point we're trying to get across, right? Yes, you can make your swing work, but with parts that fit with your swing.